Good afternoon and welcome to the New Ulm Public Library Board meeting. It's 4 p.m. on Thursday, November 10th, 2022. We're all here. We've got a quorum and we're ready to get started. So our first item of business is to approve the agenda. Everyone's gotten this by email, so can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same size. Do we have an agenda? And now we need to approve the minutes of our last meeting. Again, we've all received that through our email. So I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, we've approved the minutes, and now we can move on to the financial report.
We are 83.29% through 2022, and our budget is approximately 68.82% expended. Bills paid during October included $640 to Hilliard for normal supplies of paper towels, soap, and Kleenexes, those kind of things. $1,149 to Clausen Mechanical for replacing the water heater for the children's building. $889 to CTS, or Computer Technology Solutions, for replacement of our file server. And $1,197 to TDS for our annual Sierra self-check license renewal. Now, that is an expense we will not have once we move to Evergreen because the self-check feature is included in our price to them, so that's nice. Our budget is approximately $138,549 underspent currently. Again, some of this is due to large bills that will be paid later, including the carpet replacement and our meeting room furniture replacement, both of which are budgeted. And we also did not pay the budgeted assistant library director salary for the first half of 2022 while the position was vacant.
Okay.
Makes sense.
All right. Anyone have any comments or any questions about the financial report? We're ending the year strong, obviously, so that's good. That's good. All right. If there's no questions or comments about the financial report, we'll move on to the library department activities for October.
First off, I'd like to recognize the library staff for their hard work completing an inventory project ahead of our migration to the new integrated library system next year. Megan did a great job leading that for us, figuring out how to break down the collection and schedule that, as well as run reports so that we can make sure our data is as clean as possible when we move over to the new system. Everyone chipped in and helped scan items, check reports. It was really great teamwork, so I'm thankful to our staff for that. Our youth services librarian and reference librarian attended the Minnesota Library Association's annual conference in Duluth at the end of October. Attendance was funded by a donation from the Friends of the Library as well as honorariums from the TDS library. Both Catherine and Lisa had great things to say about the conference and came back with some great ideas that they're excited about trying, so we were glad we were able to send them. And then skylight replacement was completed on October 20th. The steam line in the parking lot has been buried. I'm not quite sure yet if they'll have to do more work next year. They did put blacktop down again for now, so there was additional leaks in the line, but I'm not quite sure where we're at with that, if they'll have to come back next year, but I think they've had to call it for this year. And then just a note that the Brown County Library Board is meeting Monday, November 14th. That's next Monday at 7 p.m. At the Springfield Public Library. The Brown County Library Board is in charge of our budget requests and disseminating the funds from Brown County. And Carl is our New Ulm Public Library representative to that board, so he'll be attending that meeting as well.
Okay. Any other questions or comments or other things that folks would like to lift up in the report?
April, Do you have a number, the amount of data that was weeded out of the collection and the number of items that remain in the collection? Any numbers that represent those two figures?
The most recent number I have for the items still remaining in the collection is around 71,000. Megan has been working with Seth from TDS to get reports that clearly depict how many items were scanned, how many items were marked missing, discarded, et cetera, during our inventory process.
So we might have that report next month.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Comments, questions? Otherwise, we'll move on to programming.
So programming slows down slightly during November and December just because we have a few days were closed during those months and more people are looking at holiday activities and finishing up the year. So we do have our normal story times, Wacky Wonders, Creative Kids, Teen Tuesdays for children. We are offering a no school afternoon movie on November 23rd. That's Wednesday right before Thanksgiving. And then we'll be closed for Thanksgiving Day and the day after. And then we, same with adults, we have a lot of our normal recurring events in November. And then we also have the addition of the knit-along class with Leah Bodie, our library aide. This time they'll be doing a towel topper, and that one is going to be requiring registration. So if you're interested in joining us for that, please give the library a call, 359-8331, or visit our website, newulmlibrary.org.
Good. Any questions or comments about the programming? Hearing none, we will move on to the Strategic Planning Committee update.
So I've got a few slides just to summarize some of the information that we discussed during our strategic plan update. And if Margaret or Megan would like to jump in at any point, please do so, as they were on that committee. So one of the things that the committee asked me to present to the board is just some information about what the strategic planning process can look like. So these are some common steps of the strategic planning process particular to libraries. And this is from a book published by the Public Library in association with the Public Library Association called Strategic Planning for Public Libraries by Joy Fuller. And that book was published in 2021. So as part of the first step is to prepare for your strategic planning. So you're looking at things like choosing your strategic planning team. For us, that might look like the library board dialed down to the strategic planning committee members that we've selected. Identifying stakeholders in your community, so our patrons, our city leadership, our county leadership, other organizations that we want to work with during the period of that strategic plan. And then we also need to set a timeline for the plan as to when we want to do what and how long we estimate those things will take us. The next step is conducting community assessments. So during community assessment, you need to look at the data that you need from your community, identify how you're going to get that data, and then how you're going to gather that. The last time we did a strategic plan that was community surveys. I do think they had a couple discussion sessions at that time with patrons, and then there was also some comment boards that were posted informally in the library that people could make comments on about specific questions we were interested in when we wrote that strategic plan. The third step is to develop your strategic plan content. So you need to either craft, adjust, or confirm your mission, vision, and value statements. Identify your strategic priorities and goals. So in our current plan, those are written as the goals and objectives. So that's what we're calling those things. So that's really kind of the meat of your overall vision for your plan. And then step 4 would be to develop your action plan. So that's creating your measurable goals and evaluating those things continuously, and then updating the plan. And so in our current plan, that is what we're calling the activities that we're doing. So, and then that 5th step would be after you've evaluated your plan, you need to, at some point, write a new plan. And that's kind of an informal step. And That's not as written in the book, but that's kind of where we're at. Margaret did ask me to look for some information on what happens in between plans. And what I could really find was that we're just looking at evaluating where we're at and then deciding if we're going to just jump right into writing again and going through these steps again.
Is this a yearly thing, or what prompts the strategic planning process? It's just an ongoing thing that you do?
So our current plan is for 2018 through 2022. That was the period we set for that
Okay.
plan. And so since we're coming up at the end of that period, it's time for us to assess and
Okay.
begin writing a new plan. The library is not required by the state to have a strategic plan, but it is a good way to kind of
Measure.
focus the library for a period of time.
April, is the strategic plan on the website, on the city website?
It is on the library's website, yes.
Okay.
In the
No.
About
'Cause
Us section.
I know when I came, I printed it out and took a look at it.
So I can send you that link.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Margaret, anything to add?
No, I think that we met for our first time this week, so we got a good start on how to reevaluate it. I was part of the process 5 years ago, so it was a lot of jogging our memories. How did we do this the last time, and where we wanted to focus. I think the question I would have back to all of the board is, do we want to do a 5-year plan again? Or do we want to extend it longer or shorter, depending, it's very flexible, we can kind of decide. I think when we chose 5 years, 5 years ago, it was kind of like, from what we had for objectives, though, that felt like we could accomplish those things in 5 years, because we want to be able to accomplish the things within the time frame allotted. So that's about it. Yeah.
Oh.
I think it's part of the process. We'll start
right.
gathering data and information from the community as well as from all of our stakeholders to understand what's important and if those things need to be changed and updated and those sort of things and what we need to focus on.
You know, what I remember is that I think the one thing that didn't get accomplished has to do with the second floor.
Yes.
Am I right?
And I can go through in a little bit more detail, not super heavy detailed about some of the things that we discussed being either considered completed or in progress
Right.
still. I do, to note,
Here we are.
I checked with the city about the strategic plan timeline. The city's working on a comprehensive plan right now, looking to finish that up this year or early next year. And then the budget, final budget hasn't been set, but at this point, what we're looking at is the city starting the strategic planning process late 2023 into 2024. In discussions with the city manager, he's just encouraging the library board to go ahead and write our plan. We can really dial down more specifically than the library will be covered in the overall city plan.
Good for you. Oh, here we go.
Just a quick update on our goals, our goals, objectives, and activities. Goal 1 was to provide a welcoming environment. That's goal 1 of 2 goals. In that goal, we had 3 objectives: provide exemplary patron service by well-trained staff. We felt that the strategic planning committee felt that we had completed the activities in that objective. So that goal was, that objective for the goal 1 was well in hand. Objective 2 was provide a physical space and appearance that meets diverse and accessible needs. Under that objective, the only activity that we felt we needed to continue with was repurposing the second floor or the adult nonfiction floor. And we've got some discussion as to how we might do that after we complete the next phase of our carpet replacement plan, which was contingent on the roof replacement. And then the third objective under goal 1 was to make our library easy to use. And some of the activities that we feel like we could either reassess, continue, rewrite in some way, is to share unique ways to use the facility, evaluate our signage throughout the library, and update our catalog computers. Our second goal is to fuel passion for reading and learning, and we also had 3 objectives under that goal. Objective 1 being offer an array of programs and partnerships. So activities we felt needed to be continued there were to continue to evaluate programming and explore ways to fill gaps in programming. we thought that objective 2 and 3 we could consider completed of maintaining a well-rounded collection and maintaining up-to-date technology. The activities under there had been completed to satisfaction.
One thing I will add in regards to this with our objectives being checked off, that means that they've been defined as a responsibility somewhere else within some of our documentation as well. So it's not like we're just checking it off and we're not going to reevaluate like how we do customer service. It's written in the job descriptions, and it's written in the onboarding plan that was part of the process. So we have these things defined that they should be, as long as those procedures and policies are reviewed on a regular basis, which they should be. It should be something that can easily be attained.
Thank you.
So the next steps and recommendations that the Strategic Planning Committee identified, first one being that we will probably need to adjust the membership of the Strategic Planning Committee. Both Margaret and Bernice are currently on the committee, and their library board terms are ending, and they are not eligible to return to the board for 1 year until after 1 year passes. So Margaret is willing to stay on as a community member representative, but Bernice is not able to, so we would need probably to select another library board member if anyone's willing to participate. And then we also recommend trying to recruit a few more community representatives to speak about their experience at the library. We also need to identify a timeline. We had kind of a funky year where we were waiting until we had an assistant director on, and then other projects took precedence. So I would like to set a timeline that we can really stick to for our strategic plan. We need to identify the data we need and how we want to collect that data, whether we do another community survey or listening sessions, those kind of things. We need to assess whether we need to adjust our mission, vision, and value statements, or if those are still appropriate for the direction we want the library to go. And then identify those new strategic priorities, those overarching goals, and then write that plan.
Write that plan.
Write that plan. Sounds like a children's book.
Sounds great. Great.
April, given what's going on in the library currently with some of the maintenance projects, the carpeting and the roof HVAC system and the integration to the new ILS, and just other ongoing programming and collection development issues, do you feel that the time that you have available for strategic planning is adequate insofar as you're willing to set a timeline to complete this undertaking?
I think we could start some of the information gathering steps and setting the strategic planning committee. I would like to put the timeline far enough back for writing where we are after the migration and the initial rollout of that, which would be after March 2nd of next year. I think we would probably need a little bit of a buffer of time to get ourselves settled into that new system before it would be a good idea to really jump into the writing portion of the plan.
Would you think it would be too excessive to maybe look toward the end of next year to have something in final form?
I don't think so. I think that's a reasonable expectation. When we wrote the first plan, I think it was roughly that amount of time, 1 year, after, considering the time it took to do the community survey and all of that.
I think that might be practical to, give yourself that amount of time, given the other things that are currently going on and may come up between now and then.
So so did I understand that when you visited with the city, they're not concerned that anything the library is doing is going to really be affected one way or another? We'll just slot us in. The library is really rather an independent group. We've
Right.
got our own thing.
The from my conversation with the city manager, my impression is that the strategic plan for the city will be looking at the library as more of a high level
Right.
and how we can fit into some of their the city's overarching goals. So, there may be an opportunity for us to say, well, we're really interested in this goal for the city. How can we help meet that? And so,
Well, that's
there may
interesting.
be some adjusting, but that should be part of our process anyway along the way.
Well, what makes me think about this is, I would think one of the goals for the city is to be an attractive place to live. And I have a friend who, when she moved here 2 years ago, toured the library. She said, I wasn't going to move to a town that didn't have a really good library. So I just think that's sort of how we fit into the city plans. We're a great library, right? Good. Anybody else have any comments or questions or things you want to talk about? Thank you so much for getting this together. Okay? Good. Good. Now we've got, have we got resolutions here. All right, better get started. 6 resolutions.
Yes.
All right, here we go. The first one is a resolution 2022-27, which is approving the closing the library for evergreen training. Now, the library director requests that the library board approve closing the library from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Tuesday, January 10th, 2023, and from 9:30 to 11 a.m. on Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, for training on the Evergreen Integrated Library System and the Aspen Discovery Public Interface. The Traverse des Sioux Library System's automation librarian has recommended that the library staff attend the live versions of these online trainings, although they will both be recorded. Attending in person will give staff the opportunity to ask questions of the Evergreen trainers and to practice with the new system. And the library director did confirm that the city manager has no concerns with closing the library for training on those 2 dates, basically a day and a half, more or less. So we have this resolution. Do I have a motion to offer the resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions about this? We've been talking about this Evergreen system for, quite a while, so.
April, is the training mandatory for every employee, full-time and part-time?
TDS is not saying as such, but for New Ulm Public Library, yes, I am considering it that way.
That's your decision.
Except for our library pages, because they do not use the integrated library system for their job.
Okay. And if for some reason someone was indisposed and was unable to attend, they would be available to watch the recording.
Yes.
Okay.
And Seth Erickson, the TDS automation librarian who is leading the migration, also mentioned that as part of these trainings, they are also Evergreen will be offering practice modules for us to practice the steps we're learning. And so those would be available for them to do as well as view the video if they can't attend.
Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, hearing nothing, Megan, can you call the roll for us?
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you. Resolution is passed. Now we'll move on to resolution number 2022-28, which is approving the addition of 5 Wi-Fi hotspots to the library collection. The library director requests that the library board approve adding 5 hotspots to the library's circulating collection. The library currently owns 3 hotspots that circulate consistently and frequently have holds. Demand for hotspots increased when long-term devices were offered by long-term devices were offered by Traverse des Sioux Regional System in 2021 and the first half of 2022. Funding for the TDS hotspots ended in August 31st, 2022. Wi-Fi hotspots can help provide internet access for those who do not have reliable access at home, and circulation for the regional and New Ulm-owned hotspots follows. And then there's a chart that shows the usage. The additional hotspots were unplanned and therefore unbudgeted. The library director recommends that funding for these additional hotspots comes from the audiovisual supplies budget line for 2022 and 2023. Library staff are able to purchase fewer DVDs because of the increasing amount of media that is only released on streaming platforms. The library director anticipates excess funding in the 2023 and 2022 audiovisual budget line because of this. So the library director estimates spending approximately $175 from the 2022 audiovisual supply line and $2,100 from the 2023 audiovisual supplies line for these additional hotspots. New Ulm devices will be provided to the library. New Ulm hotspots will be provided to the library for free as part of the library's Verizon contract. There is no setup fee. The city's finance director has no concerns with this budget change. Anything else we have to add or to talk about? We sort of went through this two meetings ago, I think, talked about hotspots, so.
The finance director, she said that, pending a final approval by the city council, the budget for next year is pretty much set. So we wouldn't be changing any amounts in any of the budget lines, but we can either code these expenses to the audiovisual or code them to the contractual maintenance equipment, which is where they normally come from,
Okay.
and overspend that line essentially in exchange for underspending this one.
Okay. Okay, I got that, I guess. Anybody else? All right.
April, are these hotspots carryovers from the TDS batch?
No,
Or are
I
they
talked with.
brand new?
They would be brand new. I talked with the city IT director about using TDS hotspots that were left because TDS did offer those to member libraries. And the city IT director said, as part of our government contract with Verizon, we get new devices for free. There's no setup fee. So he said, you might as well just go with the new devices. If anything, he said we could request one or two from TDS to hold in case we had a device that went missing before it was, we're up for, the free renewal device you get for your contract.
So the cost is really for the service. It's the actual little items
Yes.
aren't part of are provided by the service provider.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
Struck me that when I read this or listened to this item, that audio-visual line item is still a phrase in usage, because I can remember in grade school, we had an audio-visual department that was quite some years ago. That technology is still called.
Expect that line has not changed its title for quite a while.
All right. Any other comments? Otherwise, Megan, you can call the roll.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that resolution passes. Now we move on to resolution number 2022-29, which is approving the expenditure for overdrive. The library director requests that the library board approve the expenditure of $2,500 for purchase of e-materials for Overdrive. Overdrive is Traverse des Sioux Regional Systems vendor for downloadable e-books and e-audiobooks. If approved, funding would come from Fund Number 211-5500-223027, audiovisual supplies. There you go. The library director anticipates excess funds in the 2022 audiovisual surprise line due to the lack of audiovisual materials available for purchase. And then the statistics, and I'm one of them, for Overdrive are following here, and you can see that it's increasing. Any questions about this? We got the money, we're going to get the materials, right?
The statistics are a little bit of the chicken and the egg situation because we have been, as a region, more heavily investing in Overdrive materials. And so as our collection gets, as we're offering more, circulation increases.
Okay, sure. More books.
Right.
More books. Good. Any questions, comments? Otherwise, Megan, you want to call the roll on this one?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to resolution number 2022-30, which is approving updates to circulation policy. In October 2022, the library board voted unanimously not to collect overdue fines on Wi-Fi hotspots and Library of Things items that are returned late. The library's current circulation policy, last updated March 12, 2020, states that the library collects overdue fines on hotspots. The library director has attached an updated circulation policy with that language removed. She's also added information about the Library of Things and board games to the sections on checkout limits and loan period and renewals. She recommends that the loan periods for Wi-Fi hotspots be increased from 1 week to 3 weeks, contingent on the library board's approval of purchasing additional hotspots in 2022. She's also updated the lost or damaged materials section to indicate that there are no processing fees for lost or damaged magazines. She recommends that the library board raise the checkout limit for DVDs from 4 DVDs per cardholder to 10 per cardholder. The library director recommends that the library board update language in the parent or guardian applied limits section to indicate that it is the responsibility of parents or guardians, not library staff, to monitor the appropriateness of materials being checked out by children or young adults. She's also corrected typos and clarified language where necessary. The policy updates are slated for second reading and approval at the December meeting and will go into effect January 1st, 2023 to match the effective date of the 2023 fine and fee schedule. So this is our first reading. Oh, have I done yet? Let's see. Now, do you want me to read these changes or out loud, or should I consider an attachment to the resolution? And we have all got this, so.
I think in the past you may have had a motion and a second and a vote to waive the reading of the policies.
Yes, okay. But because we've all got them in front of us, I don't have to read them over.
And they are, the library board packet is posted on the city's website, so the public can view the
Right,
changes
so
as
if
well.
anyone who's listening wants to know what's in them, and we haven't discussed them, they're there, okay? Anybody, having read through these, have any comments or questions about, I didn't find any typos, so. So,
I would just ask, April, that if you do get any feedback from the public in regards to the policies that are posted on the website, that can be part of our discussion perhaps next month.
Sure. And Carl, would you mind if I share some of the suggestions you had about the language?
okay,
Not at all.
Okay. Carl suggested changing some of the terms that we're using in these policies that are maybe not as accurate as we would want them to be or as up to date with current language. We were wondering if maybe group home is not currently the appropriate term, if it might be something more like a congregate living or something like that.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
oh, interesting.
Group home. It's in, under, in the circulation policy, under library cards in the second paragraph.
Well, that's, yes. Much more inclusive.
What's derogatory? Oh, because it's group? That's considered
And
derogatory?
it's just
or
not
what?
not as clear as we would want it to be, because that could
'Cause
include
congregate.
assisted living, it could include, people at different age levels, it can include different kinds of
Different
situations,
groups.
recovery homes, those
Gotcha.
kind of things.
Okay.
Very astute, thank you.
Yeah. And then another suggestion would be to use household instead of family, because we do have non-traditional households where it's, two adult siblings living together, those kind of things. And so family is not it's not the 2 parents, 3 children it was traditionally thought of. So we thought that might be a one to update. And then also to replace any use of his/her with either patron or borrower, something that's just gender neutral.
Great.
So if the group is okay with those changes, I can mention them again next month, and then we could, if you're okay with me making those changes, I would just do that throughout these policies.
Great. All right. We'll see this again and see you in December. See you resolution in December. Okay. And now we've got the first reading of resolution number 202231, approving updates to Wi-Fi hotspot policies and user agreement. In October 2022, the library voted unanimously not to collect overdue fines on Wi-Fi and library items that are returned late. The library's current Wi-Fi hotspot policy and agreement, last updated November 18th, 2021, does state that the library collects overdue fines on hotspots. The library director has attached updated Wi-Fi hotspot policy and agreement with the language removed, and she recommends that the loan period for Wi-Fi hotspots be increased from 1 week to 3 weeks, contingent on the library board's approval of purchasing the hotspots and corrected typos and clean language where necessary. The policy updates are scheduled for a second reading and approval at the December meeting to go in effect in January 1st, 2023 to match the effective date of the 2023 fee schedule. So that's the Wi-Fis. And any comments about this particular policy with the same suggested changes?
One thing to note on the last page, of the last page of the agreement, on the very bottom, there's a spot where it says date returned /staff initials. That was something I think when we first started loaning hotspots that we thought we would go back and do. But our internal checks for overdue hotspots are sufficient enough. We don't fill this in on a regular basis. So I would prefer if we just remove it, since it's not something staff are doing consistently.
Okay. Anything else? All right. On to resolution number 2022-32, first reading again, approving updates to Library of Things policy and lending agreement recitals. In October 2022, the library board voted unanimously not to collect overdue fines on Wi-Fi hotspots and Library of Things items that are returned late. And the current Library of Things policy and lending agreement and informed consent form, last updated December 10th, 2020, does state that the library collects overdue fines and on the Library of Things items. The library director has attached an updated Library of Things policy, lending agreement, and informed consent form. She has updated the Library of Things policy to include information on the patrons who may borrow Library of Things items, matching the policy language to that of the lending agreement. She's also corrected typos and clarified language where necessary. Policy updates are slated for a second reading and approval at the December meeting, and will go into effect January 1st, 2023, to match the effective date of the 2023 fine and fee schedule. Okay,
Just a note for the board on all three of these policies. I think in the past, the board has been used to these going through for a review by the city attorney.
okay.
The city has moved to a new city attorney within the past year, and so the recommendation from our new city attorney is that not every policy needs to be reviewed by the attorney. When we're not changing language, that's got a kind of a legal thrust behind it, when we're just removing language about, the fines were not,
Right, from group home to congregation, congregate
Those-
living, and,
those kind of things don't need to go
okay.
through the attorney. Now, if we were
Good.
going to change language in the library of things policy about the library's responsibility in case of an injury or something,
something.
then those are the kind of
Okay.
things we would want to send.
I'll try to keep that in mind. You'll remind me. Yeah, good. All those three were pretty similar. So I think we're, if anybody's got any further questions about those three, we'll see them in December. Otherwise, is there any other business to come before this board? Otherwise, I'll take a motion. Do I have to motion to adjourn?
No.
No, we're done. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.